NFL free agency is basically over. So, with that in mind, I am going to tell you guys which 5 teams I believe won 2025 free agency. Let's get to it. All right. In no particular order, I am starting with the Baltimore Ravens. You might hear that and say, what? The Ravens barely did anything. They're not on the list of biggest spenders. Certainly, by the way, the biggest spenders in free agency tend to not have long-term success. They're usually in that position for a reason. But I'm picking the Ravens really largely because of one contract. And that's the deal they did with their starting left tackle, Ronnie Stanley. 3 years, $60 million, so $20 million average per year, which puts him about 8th amongst tackles. That is an absolute steal for the Ravens. He has been excellent for them. Most importantly, he was healthy last year. They were able to retain their own and also, notably, keep him out of the hands of competitors like the Chiefs or teams with a lot of money to spend like the Patriots. So that's a huge win. A couple other moves. They brought back Patrick Ricard, bring in DeAndre Hopkins. That's just a 1-year, $5 million deal. See if he's got something left in the tank as a wide receiver 3, possession guy, red zone target. But that's not why I'm picking the Ravens. I am picking them because I believe the Ronnie Stanley extension was the single best deal in all of free agency. All right, next, I am going with the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, this might surprise some people because they weren't terribly active. They did sign Malcolm Kuntz, who is a young edge rusher who was injured last year, to a 1-year, $12 million deal. I thought that was very smart because in 2023, he was quite good. Bring in the versatile safety, Jeremy Chin, who I like as a pairing with Pete Carroll. But for me, this is really about the quarterback position. Trading for Geno Smith, giving up only a 3rd rounder in the process is a huge W. You go from arguably the worst quarterback situation in the NFL last year. They're going between Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell to Geno Smith, who, yes, he's 34 years old. And I know there's some apprehension for the contract extension, but gives you, I believe, at minimum, average level quarterback play. I think he's capable of more. We saw that in Seattle. That is a massive upgrade at not a particularly high cost. So for me, this free agency period, and obviously they traded for him for it, that is a huge win for the Raiders. All right, next up, I have a team that did spend quite a bit of money, and that is the Minnesota Vikings with Sam Darnold off the books. Right now, they only have a rookie quarterback under contract, JJ McCarthy, and they are taking advantage of that as teams with quarterbacks on rookie deals tend to do. So I like what they did because it felt very intentional. They were really focused on bolstering the interior, both their offensive and defensive lines. Starting with the offense, they basically signed the Colts interior, Ryan Kelly, experienced center, to a 2-year, very reasonable deal. Again, I love having a young quarterback with a veteran center. And then Will Fries, who that was a bigger deal. It's 5 years, $88 million, but 44 guaranteed. So really it's, again, like a 2-year kind of deal, which is another trend you notice. They signed a bunch of guys on defense, which some of the contracts did come in quite big, but really when you dig into the numbers, they weren't that massive. Javon Hargrave, 2 years, $30 million, 19 guaranteed. Jonathan Allen, 3 years, $51 million, 31 guaranteed. There's a little bit of a gamble with both those players. Hargrave is coming off of a lost season with San Francisco. But I like this bet because they're not that removed from very high level play, both Allen and Hargrave. And I trust Brian Flores' ability to both evaluate them. I assume he's involved in that and also put them in a position to succeed. It was definitely a need for this defense. They had a lot of talent at edge and, they run such a creative and interesting scheme, but it felt like they needed some pass rushing juice on the inside. Also brought back Harrison Smith, Aaron Jones, Byron Murphy, all to reasonable deals. Next, we have the Los Angeles Rams, who I felt with their moves really pulled away from the NFC West, which of course they won last year. It's very much a offseason for them focused on winning this year. Bringing back Matthew Stafford after those trade rumors, giving him some more money this year. They re-signed their left tackle, Larrick Jackson, to a reasonable contract. And then they took a little bit of a risk, I suppose, in signing Devontae Adams, 2 years, $43 million, 26 guaranteed. It's not bad at all for Adams, who still has a lot to contribute. I believe what we saw in both Vegas and with the Jets last year, he can still play. He's not Devontae Adams a few years ago, but he is still quite good. And more importantly, he fills a need on this Rams offense, complementary with Puka Nacua. He is more your traditional X receiver. They've had guys in the past fill that role, Demarcus Robinson, Allen Robinson, Odell Beckham Jr. Adams is certainly an upgrade and a lovely pairing, by the way, with Matthew Stafford, who loves to throw deep outside the numbers. Defensively, they also signed one of my personal favorite players over the years, Poona Ford, run-stopping defensive tackle who was tremendous last year with the Chargers, to a 3-year, $30 million deal. Run defense was a problem for the Rams. So I feel that this shores it up in a big way. Overall, just really like all of the things that they did. Finally, the Denver Broncos. Really love a lot of their signings on both sides of the ball. Starting with offense, Sean Payton got his joker, that pass-catching tight end he's been looking for. Evan Ingram was cut by the Jaguars. Broncos said, come right in. I like this because it gives them a little bit of flexibility in the draft to maybe not reach at that position. Ingram is really good with the ball in his hands in space. I think perfect fit for Sean Payton's offense. And then defensively, this was a really, really good pass rushing defense last year, really, really good secondary, but there was a need, I think, to shore up the spine of the defense. So you bring back DJ Jones, who's a good run-stopping defensive tackle, and then you add Dre Greenlaw, linebacker from the San Francisco 49ers, to a 3-year deal that was about in line with all the linebacker contracts, and then Talanoa Hufanga, who was a safety from the San Francisco 49ers, also to a 3-year deal. Greenlaw coming off of the Achilles, but we actually saw him play last year, which gives me a lot more comfort with this contract. He looked good, frankly, coming back from that injury. When he is healthy, he is, I believe, one of the more underrated linebackers in football. True sideline to sideline range, gets downhill, good in coverage, and then Hufanga just plays with his absolute hair on fire. I feel like he's going to be a turnover machine in this defense because of that pass rush. They blitz so much. I really like both of those signings. I really like how the Denver Broncos address their needs in free agency. And that's it. Those are my 5 winners. There are a few teams I was tempted to throw in there. For example, I really like what the Bucs did, especially that Chris Godwin deal. So they were right on the outside for me. I think the Patriots' defensive signings were also interesting. I do like Chicago shored up the interior of the offensive line. But I picked these 5 teams based on need, value. That was a big deal for me. The risks I felt they were taking or not taking with the contracts, and whether or not they got better. Let me know in the comments if you think I missed out on any teams.